All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 405 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today we've got St. Louis Kiss Lonnie.
What's up?
Daniel joining us from tomorrow.
Hi.
Hey, Daniel. Wee's on the board, of course, and St. Louis, 69th Blizzard.
Voice of reason.
Hey.
Yeah, we nearly forgot. Well, Lonnie nearly got two introductions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're moving up the food chain there.
Pretty good.
All right. So, anyone buy any Kiss shit this week, or get any new Kiss shit, or revisit any Kiss shit? I mean, what have you been watching on YouTube and shit? Because I've been going through Auckland 1980.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I kept finding versions on YouTube that have dropouts between the songs. I'm like, that's fucking annoying. So it made me go into my box of CDs and DVDs and dig out mine to go and listen to that from, of course, the Unmasked tour, and been thoroughly enjoying it. There's also some new audio up, the Vinnie Vincent demo, 5 songs from the mid-1980s, some of which is Warrior, actually, not Vinnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put his name on it, but it was actually Warrior. So that's a shock. And Gene Simmons' Auction Acetate. So quite a bit of new music. I just want to also mention to Gene, Rock is So Dead that Def Leppard has a really good new song out. Another one from their forthcoming
I saw that.
Halo
or
album.
I heard it, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it's getting a very positive review, which is nice.
Pretty amazing.
All right, what you guys got? Anything been on your radar musically or otherwise, Lonnie?
Not really.
Have you even listened to Kiss this week?
I have. I have listened to Kiss this week.
And?
I listened to Rock and Roll Over the other day while I was at the
Oh, wow.
It was good. Good little 35 minutes. Perfect.
Nice. Good album. Ken, what about you?
The last thing I listened to recently was of Kiss was The Elder music, the clear vinyl. It sounds really good, really, really good. So I swear I heard stuff, things that I hadn't heard before, which is interesting to me. Just certain effects that maybe I didn't notice before, or maybe I just don't remember them. But it was a good listen.
That's actually a very, good segue, just into a point before I go to you, Daniel. I got a box full of CDs and other stuff, tapes and whatnot, and I was going through them, and there were like 3 copies of the Elder demos from, that have circulated for years. And I was listening to the demos that don't run. I'm like, oh, this sounds fucking awesome. This is this is an upgrade, because that's what my mission is, always to find something that's just marginally better. And there's a second version that has a funky ending of Ace's vocal on the end of it. I'm like, oh, I've never heard this before. This is like a rarity. So I go into my master file and compare it, and they're absolutely identical.
What a letdown.
That's the great thing about getting old. is that you forget
every day.
Everything can be new again when you have dementia at age 50. Daniel, what about you? What have you been doing in Kiss World?
Well, I was a bit inspired by the previous episode where we compared Psycho Circus to the first album Kiss, and actually, I'd like to mention a few comments from last episode, because we always talked about we should mention what kind of feedback we got last time, but we never, I don't think we have addressed it ever, but we talked about it, and I thought a bit about some of the comments. One guy, Hulud99, he said, "This is fun, looking forward to the next battle." Yeah, me too, I thought it was fun as well. Jordan Davidson, he said, "Great episode. I love the down-to-earth vibe of all the panel members. Very easy to feel part of the Kiss FAQ club. The best Kiss podcast by far." And then he comments on Mark's comment about "We Are One" being total bullshit, if you remember. Right. Anyway, if you guys that are listening to this one, if you have missed that episode, go back and listen to it. I think it was kind of fun. And the biggest thing that people commented on was actually the matchup between Journey of 1,000 Years and Nothing to Lose, because actually there was a bit of a surprise there. And one guy, Daryl Hall, he said, did he really compare Journey of 1,000 Years to caviar? LMAO. I'd compare it more to a can of tuna. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then people say, like Wolf of Nature, Deuce on the first record is a stinker. It's always a skip. Psycho is never a skip. Firehouse is another stinker. It's always a skip. Pledge is never a skip. So people getting into the sound of the first album, which we commented on quite a bit. And we may end on this one. Paul Russell, he said, I'm enjoying listening to you guys. You're not haters, but you're also not cult fanboys who refuse to do anything other than worship every song and pray to every word a KISS member says. Feels balanced. So that was some of the comments, and this made me go back and listen to Kiss Alive once again, the proper versions of the songs from the first album. So that was what I was listening to this week.
Nice.
Well, thank you for that as well, and for following through on that suggestion that we've always had to go through some of our listener comments. And thank you for everyone who does take the time to, leave a comment on the show. We do appreciate it, and we do appreciate you watching and listening to us, of course. And Daniel, thank you for going back through all those episodes and putting chapters on them. That's a real big help for a lot of viewers or viewers on YouTube who want to maybe skip to a particular part of a show.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of getting people into old shows. I mean, me myself, I listen to a few KISS podcasts, but I always struggle finding the bits which I really want to listen to. So if there aren't chapters, I usually skip the episode because it's you just have that many hours a day to go through KISS stuff. So I think it helps a lot.
It does. And I mentioned some media at the top of the show here that's up on YouTube. This week there were a couple of brand new old demos posted on the board by Talvis. If you know who he is, you know who he is. He's one of the Scandinavians, and he's on a similar mission from God that I am. And he got a hold of some more early Criss material. One song's called Body and Soul, don't judge it by its title, which comes from the very first lineup of Criss with Phil Narrow, now the late Phil Narrow, fantastic Canadian singer, fronting that band. And also a second song called Stick It. Did any of you have an opportunity to check those out, and what were your thoughts on them?
I did not. I did not
either.
catch those.
Well, I actually listened to them. I thought they were kind of fun contributions, and at this point of time, it's really fun that there is still stuff that you haven't heard. And just quickly, the guy that found these, he's a co-writer on, those Swedish books that we've talked about, Partners in Crime. And they're coming up with a new one in not too long. I think it's like 2 months away. And if you read those, which you haven't because they're in Swedish, but anyway, you guys listening, maybe maybe you read them and didn't understand squat, but just for fun, yeah. And they're real page turners, and it's obvious that this guy is really, really into Peter Criss, the post-KISS era. So he really goes into that era in every book. And, I mean, he goes in deep. And he seems kind of obsessed with that era. And that's fun for the rest of us.
Yeah, and, it's Peter Criss. And, I'm in total agreement with Alex on the post-KISS stuff. I kind of Criss loses me a certain amount. I do love some of the narrow demos, wait for the minute to rock and roll and whatnot, but I was really more into kind of the remixes of Out of Control, stuff like Jenny Lee and Rock and Roll Survivor from Let Me Rock You, and even, what was it, The Alliance or The Dangerous Men or whatever it was. The second demo, which had stuff like Baby Hold On, not the first one, which had like Telltale Valentine, which was a bit more soppy. So I'm interested more in kind of that earlier 80s era, right through when the Keep's happening with Mark St. John. So lots of good stuff, and I'm so glad they're doing the legwork and turning up this stuff, and more importantly, thank you for sharing it with the community. We'll all get around to listening to it eventually, unless it's just not our bag, which, sometimes it isn't. Let's get back into Kiss, and they're back on the road. Just completed their first 2 nights in Santiago, Chile. Massive crowds. They added a second date because the first one was sold out, and the what turned out to be the first one really looked like it was packed as well, very near a sellout again, and I think that's a 16,000 seater. So, the fans are hungry, and if anyone was expecting any shocks, like a new set list, forget it. They're taking the show all around the world to these markets that haven't seen it as many times as people in the United States have. So you got to keep that in mind. It didn't look like there was much pyro, and who knows what the limitations are down there. There was a little bit. I saw one thread where someone was bitching about the number of pods. I counted them, and there were still 11. So I'm like, what the fuck? Put on your glasses. Raise your glasses. Any thoughts on these initial shows? Are you surprised by there's no change, or did you expect anything, or what? Lonnie?
No, I didn't expect a change really at all. I mean, like you said, the people in South America haven't seen this show yet, despite the tour being 3 years old at this point. South America got scheduled multiple times over the last 2 years with the world being shut down for a good part of it. So did I expect them to change the set list at all? No, I really didn't. I thought they're going to do the exact same set list that they've done. I was a little disappointed. To contradict myself, though, I am a little disappointed. You're playing the same city back-to-back nights. Maybe we could throw one different song in there, because let's be honest, there's like decent amount of people here that were here the other night as well. But after I've seen them in Vegas do the exact same set night, Friday and Saturday night, I wasn't really going to hold them to that. So, it is what it is at this point. I mean, they are on their victory lap. This is like the last stretch of the victory lap, even at this point. That I mean, they could look at each other and say, well, what's the point of changing it up at this point? Really? These are the songs we're going to do. This is it. We've played them. We know them. We're just going to, do this one last go around. So I wasn't surprised at all.
Yeah, if you spent your life on YouTube watching the videos, shame on you. Here's the real deal, regardless. I think it is ass, though, that concurrent nights, or consecutive nights, pardon me, in the same city couldn't even throw in Strutter, or,
Just something.
Anything. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, unlike Lonnie, I didn't expect any change at all, no. But, it crossed my mind, and I thought, well, there are some songs heavier songs, I think, that they tend to like down there, listen to, certain types of, music, and I think they could have thrown in a couple of, different songs, but, yeah, in the end, I just didn't think it was going to happen. But, yeah, they could have done it, but it's... Just keep with the same thing. They don't have to reprogram anything. They don't have to record new vocals or do something.
What do you mean?
I don't know what I'm saying.
Wait.
Or pull vocals from somewhere.
What are you suggesting, Ken?
From Vegas or something. I don't know. I just saying. But yeah. So, you know what the thing is? I just saw a couple of videos, and the crowds were really going crazy. I mean, they really were loving it. You could see it. And they seemed to know all the songs and the lyrics and everything. I mean, they seemed more excited than the American crowd. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good little tour down there.
Yeah, Daniel, were you putting Ken on your naughty list for him
What I do?
speaking badly about vocals?
I can't go against the voice of reason. He's always correct,
Oh,
But
always.
most of the time. But I think the thing to take away from all of this is, as Ken mentioned, the crowd. I think it actually takes me back to some of the first times I watched Kiss. It was back in '97 when they did consecutive nights. And they didn't change up that much. They added "Come On and Love Me" for the second show, and that was it. And that was like in '97. So if they changed one song back then, I'm not expecting them to change that much now. When there are certain hinders in the way, certain things that make it harder for them to change up the set list. So it is what it is. I didn't watch that much. One other thing that I thought was kind of cool was the new guitar that Tommy Thayer used. I think he used that one, the chrome guitar. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I was going to actually mention those things because there's been some new merch announced as well. Gene obviously has been doing his G2 Thunderbird basses for a while, but he now has a Gibson commercial for it, and it's absolutely hilarious. He's dialed it back to a 1980s late night US low budget lo-fi commercial. It's cornball, it's atrocious, and it's absolutely fantastic. I really dig it, though I can't stand the bass. That is not a Gene Simmons bass. That's a Nicky Six bass. Just go back to your Punisher or the Axe. That's what people expect you to be playing. That's what looks good. I mean, if that's just for money, well,
it is.
It's got to
It's
be
a cash grab. Everybody's already bought a Punisher or an Axe, so I'll come out with something new, and we'll get $5,000 out of them.
Buy something else.
Yeah. So, Daniel, thoughts on the bass or the commercial?
I agree. I thought the commercial was really funny, but the bass, I don't know really. As you said, every time I see that kind of bass, I think of Nicky Six in the '80s. But I mean, Lonnie summed it up pretty well. It's a cash grab. And I don't think he'll be using that bass that much. Maybe for a few shows, but hopefully he'll go back to his original basis.
Who mentioned Tommy's guitar?
Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel. Yeah. That's absolutely insane, that guitar.
Yeah.
It really it does look good, and it's like he's finally found one that's all his. I think I saw some of kind of the chrome guitars being worked on Jim Cara's Facebook, so who knows where that one comes from, but it really does look good. Lonnie, guitars and basses.
Yeah. I like Tommy's new guitar. I like the blue one he was playing recently too. I thought that looked unique and kind of signature of his own type thing. But that Gene bass, as much as I'll praise the Tommy guitars, I think those are cool. But the Gene bass is ridiculous looking. It's ridiculous looking, first of all. It's a Nicky Six bass. And like I said, I mean, it's a cash grab because he's thinking, okay, well, the Kiss fans with disposable income, they've already bought an Axe. They've already bought a stage-played Punisher. Well, I'll come out with a new one, and they'll buy that. And that's what it is. Yeah. It's one last go round. So let me get them one more time.
Yeah, Ken, thoughts on these instruments, basses and guitars?
Well, the Tommy guitar, I saw the chrome. I thought, that's just a great idea. I don't know if it's probably been done before somewhere, but not maybe to this level.
Yeah.
But it just made me think of, it makes me think of classic cars, with the chrome bumpers and that kind of stuff, all the chrome on. I thought, oh yeah, that's really cool, So yeah, that's a nice touch, and it works with the spaceman, thing. And then Gene's bass, I agree. It doesn't fit him at all. It just doesn't go with his persona, we're so used to, Punishers and Axes and that sort of thing. So, but the commercial, I thought it reminded me of and I said so on the board, that reminded me of those old Saturday Night Live skits where they would make fun of those kind of ads, like the, Ron Popeil, those kind of Ronco or whatever they were called, commercials that they used to have back in the day, and they used to spoof those on Saturday Night Live, and that's what it felt like. It felt like a spoof of a regular type commercial. But yeah, it was kind of, this is funny. It was out there. It's something different.
So it looks a bit like, do you remember the Paul Stanley PS-12 Starfire from Washburn, which had it had the same kind of Air Force-y logo on the pick guard. Those things,
the Air Force. Yeah,
those things those were made to be smashed.
Right.
They're just trash. Yeah, they didn't look right. They had this gaudy ass whatever that thing's called at the end of the guitar, bridge guard or whatever. That was decorative, which looked like it was a Texas Ranger badge instead of Paul's star. No, just terrible, as is the bass. But moving on to other merch that is kind of causing the chattering classes to Twitter, the Kiss bicycle.
Oh, right.
I can't wait to see Paul Stanley on one of these saying, I just e-biked 100 miles on my new whatever.
Motorized
Now these are available in Australia, I believe, and one of the models has already sold out. Apparently. Allegedly, but I think they are atrocious. They don't look... Well, they look like a 1912 motorbike, which they basically are, because back then it was like a one-stroke engine or something really low.
Right.
These things with the batteries are basically motorbikes to me. They should be allowed in bicycle lanes because they're not 100% powered by human power. But Daniel, thoughts on the bicycles?
I don't know what to say about those, but it made me think of the classic Kiss motorbikes from the 70s, if you remember those that they posed with. Those were real cool. Those looked awesome. But these bikes, I don't know. At times I wonder who is behind these this merchandise, which is obviously not any good. And I don't know that people would be interested in having Kiss bikes, even though you said it's sold. I'm not sure. If I talk to Kiss fans that I know, I'm sure no one is interested in that bike. So I really don't know who's buying them, but people seem to buy whatever they put out. So some fans, because you certainly have to be a fan in order to buy this atrocity. You wouldn't find the man in the street going, oh, that's a nice looking bike, I have to get that one. So I just think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, listen, someone comes to Epic Rights and says, I want to do this, and they say, well, you need a license to do that. Here's what a license will cost, once they've got the details of how many and, all that. Presumably, because I've never asked for a license, I have no idea how it works. And then the business decides whether it's economically viable. Cash changes hands, and they've got the right to use a image. that's it. It really has nothing to do with Kiss other than that, I think. I mean, I'm sure if Paul did some design on it, it would have at least some purple and green fluorescent streamers coming out of the grips on the handlebars, to really kick it up a notch in terms of Asylum. But the point is you go from those badass motorcycles in the 70s to basically tricycles and trinkets in the 2020s, and it,
Yeah, I don't know. We're talking about the same band that has a bowling ball and like their faces on ashtrays too. I mean, there's really nothing they won't. There's almost nothing they won't do. If someone wants to give them the money for name, image, and likeness, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the problem, that Kiss, they aren't involved in the merchandise anymore, it seems. They just grab the cash all the time. They have been doing that for years. So there's really no quality control. They just, here's some cash. Here's some cash. Let's take it, and whatever they produce, I don't even care to take a look at it. I'm sure they haven't been involved at any stage of this. So that's a big problem.
All right, Ken, give us the voice of reason's take on Kiss bicycles, please.
I looked at it and I thought, okay, yes, money grab. I didn't like the image so much, or that they used. I just thought they could have done better. Even if you're going to put Kiss on the bike, at least do a little better. You choose better what you're going to put on it. But yeah, I don't know. They can do what they want to do. It's their right to do what they want. But I'm not going to buy it.
Are you going to buy Bruce and Lisa's pancake apron?
Oh, I can make some pancake. Yeah, they have some pancake recipes. I might try a couple of those. They look, pretty good. I might as well try. I have my own little tries at recipes of pancakes, but I might try one of theirs. It could be interesting.
Yeah,
might be good.
Flour, sugar, baking soda, baking powder, vanilla. Yep, and a waffle iron.
An egg.
And an egg. Yep, and that's all I need to make a waffle.
Not too much. Right.
Yeah, just very basic. But I'm actually surprised that Bruce may beat Paul to a cookbook, because it certainly looks like he's
don't give Paul any ideas.
Yeah. Any in that direction? Well, no. Paul's still burning. Paul's still burning pizzas. So
he is burning his pizzas. Yeah.
Lonnie, your thoughts on Bruce's new endeavor?
I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever Bruce wants to do is fine. It's good. And Dana's shaking his head like, you guys are supposed to be rock stars. Why are you putting out pancake recipes? I get it too. So I don't know. It's a weird time we live in. So I think it's what we have to say about it more than anything else. You got Gene Simmons playing Nikki Sixx basses. We got Kiss bicycles. We got Bruce Kulick putting out pancake recipes. Dogs and cats living together. What is going on?
And Ken still doesn't have his Dubai shit.
Right. Oh, yeah. Any word this week, Ken?
Of course not. I know that I saw that post that Julian, he had a picture of some post, right?
Yeah.
It feels ripped off.
Yep. So someone had the audacity on Twitter to say, "Where's my Dubai shit?" Tagging Gene and I think some other
Paul Stanley,
Gene,
and
Paul,
Kiss.
Yeah. And, so I'm pretty sure that person's already been blocked. Because I'm sure Gene blocked me for less when I don't even have a clue what I've ever posted on Twitter that's confrontational or anything. But Ken, are you feeling hopeful or less hopeful?
Well, I saw that and I said #me too.
Yeah, but you didn't post it on Twitter.
I didn't post it on Twitter. Yeah, I did not want to be blocked.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Dubai is gonna get resolved any more than magic You know, and congratulations to Ross on selling his house in January. You know, yeah. People were posting that on the board, and it's like it was bought by a flipper. So the person who's made it look nice and habitable is not Ross. It was the person who bought the house who has now resold it. So,
but there is a new Kiss fan book coming out. A guy.
I ordered it.
Yeah, so Ken ordered it. Maybe you know more about it, Ken, than me.
Well,
what kind of book is it?
It's a fan Kiss fan story of their fandom, pretty much.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
It's called "I Stole Your Love," right? And it's by a member. I can't remember the guy's name. Maybe Julian has it, but
true Kiss fan.
True Kiss fan, and he's actually a member of the board. It looks interesting. It might be a fun read to see another person's view of Kiss and how they got into the band and through all the years, you know, kind of his following the band and things that happened, you know, his way. It's always good to hear other stories, Kiss fan stories. You know, I hear, you know, Lonnie's stories from when he got into it, and Daniel's, and, you know, yours, and many people. And it's always interesting to hear their take on when they got into the band and their experiences.
So the book is I Stole Your Love, the 100% true story of a 100% true Kiss fan by Ron Williams. And you can find the thread on the FAQ or look up the book on Amazon. It looks like it's self-published too. It's available Kindle and paperback. I'll probably get a copy, and it's currently number 58 in heavy metal music books. So good luck to Ron on that, and maybe we'll do a review show and see if he can be persuaded to come on. I'm sure he'll be doing the rounds on podcasts. So I always like to wait and see what other people ask. Another good thread this week, and I don't know if anyone would be willing to answer if their wives or significant others might actually hear them or be able to watch the show later and have evidence. But what is the most money that you have ever spent on Kiss memorabilia, Mr. Lonnie?
That's a great question. She's not here and she doesn't watch the show. Oh. You know, I have paid for meet and greet. You know, those aren't cheap. You know, but that's an experience. You know, and I've gone on the cruise, but that's an experience.
Merch
Itself. I bought a Paul Stanley painting.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Can we see it?
I don't know if I can get it. I don't know if I can go.
It's not the one of his self-portrait, is it?
It's not. No, Joe Odell.
It's either a circle or a square. Or something.
No, Joe Odell bought the self-portrait. I bought. It's Paul Stanley in his makeup, and it's the lyrics of Love Gun.
Oh
yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, nice.
And
I like that one.
It was $2,700.
Well, there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your wife already knows that exists, so
she knows
it exists.
I don't think she knows what I paid for it, though.
I thought you paid $100 for it. Yeah, second hand.
It was a deal, honey.
It's just a print.
Just before you're together. That's all involved.
All right, Daniel, what about you?
Well, after watching, if you remember, we did a show. I think it was the four of us. We did a show on the worst Kiss merchandise of all time. It wasn't that long ago. And Lonnie, he had like all of the stuff at home. I showed it on camera. So I haven't spent that type of money on anything when it comes to Kiss. Actually, I think I always was more into the music, and I wouldn't buy a Paul Stanley painting if you held a gun to my head. I mean, it's not my cup of tea at all. But it's different for different persons. So if you like it, you buy it. But the most I've spent is surely on a Kiss experience. Like going to Norway, staying there for 3 days, watching 1 or 2 Kiss shows, spending money on beer and Kiss merch at the arena, that sort of stuff. But nothing crazy. I think like when it comes to items, the most expensive thing I ever bought was maybe a signed copy of that album they released after Hard in the Shade. That, what was it called?
First Kiss, Last Lick.
Yeah.
First Kiss, Last Licks.
Yeah,
The promo.
The promo. But this was like back in '92, so I don't remember how much I bought it for. But I remember it stung a bit when I bought it.
That thing sells for a shitload
really?
now. I sold one in the last year, and I'm friendly with the person who bought it, and he offered me so much for it. I'm like, oh, I can't take that much,
Oh.
So yeah, no, it just didn't. It did not feel right, and it wasn't signed. But that was a cool promo. Okay, Ken, is the voice of reason reasonable with his budget, or has he ever been
Pretty reasonable for the
unreasonable?
most part. But that first Kiss Last Lick, I think I got it for $10 when it came out, or when it was
Son of a
in the
bitch.
used store back around 1990 or whatever it was.
Damn.
Anyway, I could count a couple things. I'm going to say the most really was the Kisteria box set. The road case, right? The road case that came and it had all.
What, the vault?
Well, the vault is not.
That's only
merch
$750.
necessarily.
Most of it's the experience.
I count the actual vault as like $500, and I count the rest as the Gene Simmons experience or whatever, the meet and greet and that stuff. That's how I see that. I see it vault as around $500.
That's how he justifies that.
Which is what they're actually charging right now, I think. Yes, that's how I just. But so really, it's the Kisteria thing. Obviously, it's a whole set of albums, but a lot of those albums, those exclusives, have gone up in value. But otherwise, I'll just say that I bought stuff for like usually a couple of $100 or so. I mean, you get the Platinum Awards is like $270 or something like that. I have one of those, and the what is it? The Pyramid, the Hot in the Shade promo I've showed before. That was in the 200s range. I don't know what it would go for now. Probably a lot more, but I was lucky to find one of those actually.
Speaking of awards, I won a Revenge Award next month, 30th anniversary.
Yeah, I hope there's some kind of revenge stuff coming out next month. I'm gonna guess they will. I'm gonna guess they're gonna do something.
There will be. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Mark got hit. Mark got his funded by the podcast. Your revenge one, Lonnie, will be funded by the podcast.
Wow.
You gotta get something out of that ad revenue that builds up slowly over the years, and it's been about 4 years since Mark, so I think there should be $100 in the kitty by now. So, that'll definitely get taken care of for you. Yeah, for me, it's weird. Obviously I've done Paul Stanley Guitar Experience, Tommy Experience, The Vault.
Those are experiences, right?
A lot of the demos and acetates I got, which you would think would be expensive, I got good deals at auction on. So I don't know. It's probably memos and I got some video. It's really hard to tell, but we're talking high 4 figures, and that's as specific as I'm willing to get. But
right,
it hurts, but it doesn't hurt. But sometimes it does, because you're just sitting there looking at this shit, and you're like, "Oh, I'd love to share this." Oh no, because then Archer's going to sell it. So, that's where my interests are still, all on the historic stuff, whether it is documents, and I much prefer to get original stuff. I hate photos. I am not interested in photos, but there's been a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, I don't have any awards left. Got Eric Carr's diary, and some of his
Oh, really? That's cool.
his advanced cassettes of The Elder, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, fun stuff. Bootlegs, obviously. Yeah, I did buy some 75 ones. Yeah, hard to tell. Too much, that's for sure.
Too
That's
much,
for
yeah.
sure. Too much. Whereas it should have been all about the music. Here's another topic from the board. When do you think Ace Frehley peaked? When were his skills at the very highest before any decline started occurring? And I guess that's a somewhat interesting thing to consider with all of these guys, because to be perfectly honest, there doesn't seem to have been a tremendous amount of personal growth musically within the band, and that applies to all of them. To me, they're extremely good at what they do, but there haven't been a continuous reinvention of themselves throughout their careers. They kind of found that pocket, and they sat in it. Daniel, Ace.
Well, it's kind of a hard one, because if you look at the members, the original members, I guess most people would say that they all peaked somewhere around 76, maybe 77, 75, somewhere around there. But when it comes to Ace, he actually added some skills later on, because if you recall the first albums, he did some fantastic songs, but he never sung on them. First time he did that was in 77, and then in 78 he released his solo album and wrote some great stuff and sang it real well as well. So when he peaked, I'd have to say 78, I think, because that's when he showed all his skills. Previously, we've never really heard him singing that much, just a song on Love Gun and one on Alive 2, I think, and that's it. So I'd go for 78, actually. A bit later than the others.
Lonnie, what about you?
Yeah, that was my thought immediately as well. Was 78. Like, he's building up. You get Shock Me, you get Rocket Ride, and then all of his skills just really are showcased on that 78 solo album. And he is featured quite a bit on Dynasty and Unmasked, but I think that 78 solo album, with his guitar playing and singing ability and songwriting ability, it's just showcased so much there. And I don't think, as much as I like the Frehley's Comet albums and his other solo work, it wanes in comparison to that. That's Ace at his best is 78.
Yep. Ken.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say 78 because of how good that the album is, and though he says he was saving up a lot of those songs. I don't know if that's true or not, but he said he was saving them, knowing that was coming at some point. But I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say when he left Kiss. He hit his peak. I mean, that is right before he left Kiss, actually. I think he was still turning out pretty good solos and that sort of thing. He still had something. I think, I still think it's a lot has to do with just the chemistry. Even though he's just writing songs, he's going up against. It's a competition of his songs against Gene and Paul and that sort of thing. So when he's became solo, it's no longer a competition. It's just a competition with himself, and he's just going to do whatever. And the songwriting was not quite as good as his songwriting before, and the solos were pretty good, but they kind of kept kind of going down the memorable type solos that he was known for were kind of less memorable going forward. So I'm going to say right before he left Kiss, because I think he still had it and was still able to churn out songs if he wanted to. I think he wanted to do a lot of stuff on The Elder that he wasn't allowed to, or they cut it, or Bob cut it, or whatever happened. So that's how I look at it.
Still hope to hear that shit one day if it exists. Yeah, 78.
I need a box set. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, don't get me started. Yeah, 78 he hits that peak without a doubt, but he's on a nice plateau for 3 years. In essence, that in Dynasty era, he brings 5 in, 3 are used. Sure, one's a cover, but it's fully realized. And Gene only gets what Gene had extra
2 on
eyes
Dynasty.
and charisma. So he's already competing and exceeding Gene, and just doing very solid songs and arrangements. Listen to Hard Times. That's a very well crafted.
That's
song.
a great song.
It's a good vocal. It's good guitar work. It's a great arrangement. Again, I think we need a deluxe of Dynasty to hear, what it came from before Vinnie Poncia got his hands on it. That would be very interesting to know how fully realized. Ace has said that, the arrangement of what he did with 2000 Man was all his and it was ready to go. But what about the other songs that, Save Your Love as well, which is one of my all-time favorite Ace songs, period. Mm-hmm. Again, exquisitely crafted. So he's on that plateau, getting more material on than Gene, and Gene's stuff is good on Dynasty, but it starts getting a bit dodgy on Unmasked, where he again brings in 4 songs, 3 are used. I'd love to hear that one that wasn't, that was shown on one of the Rachel photos. I think Over the Edge or something like that. What was that? I'd love to know that.
Interesting.
As well. So, 3 of them get done there. And again, they're well-crafted songs. Talk to Me is still in that rock vibe, whereas Gene's are going, getting a bit pretentious and a bit off base, and Torpedo Girl is still a good rock song, even if it's quirky and, not to everyone's taste because of the lyrics. So, Ace had a good plateau from that 78 point. So, that's where it's at. And then it's kind of downhill from there for the rest of his career, that he becomes a backseat driver to his own career. He had a lot of Ritchie with him in the early 80s, the earliest part of Frehley's Comet, and Arthur Stead Steed on keys. And then, of course, Todd Howarth comes in and takes a lot of that load on the creativity.
Vocals.
Yeah, he kind of becomes a director, outsources his own creativity.
It boggles the mind to think what would happen if Ace would have become drug-free in 83 or something. I think we could see a lot of good material, because it was kind of lazy by the Second Coming, and his output was of course, very low after that for a decade or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's sad that The Elder happens then for Ace, because he's coming off 2 albums where he's contributing a lot. He's gotten used to contributing, and all of a sudden, well, no, we're going to do this weird stuff that he's just not invested in. If it's straightforward rock, he had no problem. Lazy Ace?
Yeah, the placement of The Elder is really unfortunate for Ace, because not only did it take away a lot from what he was contributing to the band, but it also, at the end of the day, made him leave the band. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the placement of The Elder for him is really, really unfortunate, and it really changed the band permanently.
And then, of course, the style of guitar playing changed dramatically a few years later there in the early 80s. So I don't know if it would have stayed in Kiss when Kiss wanted to be current, because Paul and Gene couldn't sure as hell make him play like one of the guys in Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or something. So I think his days were numbered anyway, because of the music scene and Paul and Gene wanting to stay current.
Yeah, but look at Aerosmith. And I'm too close to that story, and having obviously done a book on it. But Joe and Brad didn't become different guitar players. They didn't become the LA guitar players. at all for Permanent Vacation, Done with Mirrors, or Pump. They were still playing the same kind of meaty guitar that was very much their meat and potatoes in the 70s.
Yeah.
So it is down to Gene and Paul making that decision that they followed the shiny object from LA, all those kind of new players, rather than changing the dynamic of the band and updating it and remaining true to themselves. Aerosmith managed to stay true to themselves and change slightly. Kiss, I think, jumped on a couple too many bandwagons, perhaps, in getting those completely different guitar sounds. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe it did. What, did I just kill the conversation with?
There you have it.
I fell asleep when you talked about Aerosmith there.
I mentioned Aerosmith again. Damn it. Well, someone kind of mentioned something this week on the board, and we'll wrap up on this point. That god-awful UK documentary from 2000 that I unfortunately participated in. Mike was kind enough to involve me in it back then, and kudos to him for sharing that, because the person who posted it asked my permission first. They're like, "Hey, do you mind if I post this? Because it's really bad." I'm like, go for it. It's out there. I put up with all the ribbing from friends and family back home when that came out. It was so bad how we were set up in there. And I wasn't comfortable in the first place being under the cameras. That was like the first time ever. But did any... Daniel, you checked it out?
Yeah, I checked it out. I laughed out loud when I watched it. But you were really a victim of the editing, and there was really like a trap set for you when you did that interview. It seemed like the one who did the video had one thing in mind, and that was try to show off Kiss fans as not cases, sort of, or Kiss nerds and stuff like that. So, but nowadays it's kind of fun to watch because we all know that you're more than that. So
yes.
I enjoyed it.
5 years after graduating from university with a degree in philosophy and politics. Yes, that was how I was presented on television. Funnily, I was invited to be on Family Jewels as the Kiss fan, and I'm so glad I turned that down.
Really? That would have been hilarious.
Oh, I turned that down.
Great.
They came to me, and I recommended someone else who also turned it down, and then they finally got it to that. And then last year, I was invited to do two documentaries, one Def Leppard, because obviously I did a book on Def Leppard, and also Kiss, and unfortunately scheduling conflicts arose, so I was unable to do either of those. Not that I had any recollection of this unfortunate
smart move on your point.
Yeah, you know what?
You knew how they would have painted you.
I think this is kind of my level of media, and also, I'm not photogenic, I'm not good on camera, and I would never trust an editor ever, ever, ever again after that. God. Well, on that happy note, that thread is still on the FAQ with the wonderful title of Julian and Michael Brandvold stitched up in a UK documentary from 2000. Nice. If you want to check out top 10 stadium rock bands from Channel 4, you do so, and you have been warned. It is bad, and a lot of the other bands featured in there don't get much better either. It's, go back to, I can't even remember who people were listening to back then in the UK, because that's right after I left. All right, that's it for this week. A bunch of random topics. Next week, we do actually have a real topic that we have been preparing for. So we hope that you will join us then. For now, from Lonnie, Daniel, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.